shots ring out in the barroom night. Enter Patty Valentine from the floor above. She sees a bartender in a pool of blood. Cries out, they've killed my love. Here comes the story of the hurricane. The man the authorities came to blame for something that he never done. Put in a prison cell, but one time he could have been the champion of the world.
The last loose end that needs to be tied up is Stephanie Cooper. Don't worry, folks, this will be a quick episode. Thanks again for listening to Corrupt Clearfield, and once again, I remind everyone that you can check out the Dropbox file link at corruptclearfield.com to get all of the information that we are actually going through right now. You can check out the original documents for yourself. So, after everything that's happened, with all the information that you have now, you can imagine that talking to Stephanie Cooper and asking her what actually happened and why she chose to drop John as her client was at the forefront of my mind. In fact, one of the last loose pieces of information I wanted to gather before I was ready to take this investigation to all of the different legal entities in Clearfield, and then also beyond that. I finally tracked Stephanie Cooper down and arranged a telephone meeting with her. She was very dismissive to start, very annoyed that I was even talking to her was the gist that I got, but I immediately dropped the bombshell about the forged evidence that she had missed. Her tone and her tune changed very quickly towards me. She claimed it was up to John to provide evidence to her. I countered with, I thought crafting a defense was part of your job, that you would suggest to the defendant, to your client, what sort of information they should be providing you in order to substantiate their defense. This caught her off guard. She went silent for a moment. She then said, well, I didn't know you could request data from Facebook. And I said, well, why didn't you at least Google that? I would assume you would know how to use Google.com if you were an attorney for almost 20 years and you were aspiring to be a judge. Using Google.com seems as though it would be among the most basic of skill sets required for somebody aspiring to a role where they would literally have the fate of thousands, if not tens of thousands of people in their hands. She then countered and said, well, I would think that you would need a subpoena to get that information. I told her, well, first of all, you don't. Google would have told you this. Facebook actually changed their policy a few years back so that you can get your information on your profile just by clicking a button and having it emailed to you. Because they were so inundated with requests, subpoenas for that information, they decided to just make it something that was automatically available to everyone so they no longer had to waste manpower and resources on it. I also said, isn't asking for information via a subpoena part of your job as a lawyer? Like, why would that be above and beyond what you would normally do for a paying client? She went silent. But this brought us to our next portion of the conversation, which was money. She claims John paid her only $1,500 for the actual case itself, and the other $675 was for his divorce. Now, John and Billy Jack both told me that Stephanie made this up after the fact, and that John had specifically told her every step of the way, and in fact, all of his family members confirmed this. John had specifically told her every dollar was supposed to go towards the case. He did not want a divorce. He hadn't signed any papers. He wasn't trying to divorce Tara. He just kept denying her request to sign the divorce papers. So what was the $675 that she claims he was paying her for the divorce? What did that money go towards? What did she actually do? We already know she didn't do much to earn any money in terms of his actual case, but why then would John have put $675 towards his divorce? He claims all $2,175 had been put towards the case. Now, if you remember back in the motion to withdraw as counsel transcript, she said to the judge, Judge Cherry, that she could no longer work with John anymore, but she did not explain why. I asked her why. She said it's because Billy Jack, and I kid you not, because Billy Jack was too creepy. I chuckled, of course, and said, okay, what do you mean? I was not going to argue with her on that fact. I mean, it's definitely something disconcerting about him, considering the number of lies he had told. But I asked what specifically was creepy about him. She declined to give any specific examples and just kept saying over and over again, he's creepy. He was just creepy. I don't know. There was just something creepy about him. I couldn't work with John anymore because Billy Jack was creepy. She finally asked, so what do you want from me? I told her that I thought she should fix this. I told her that I thought she should provide free legal advice and legal representation to John to get him out of this situation because it was her own lack of discernment regarding whether or not he had actually pressed the like button on Facebook that got him into this mess in the first place. The lack of representation she provided for him. She declined, and that was the end of our conversation. So I'd love to know, Stephanie Cooper, why is it that you did not even check to see if there was evidence that John had liked Tara's Facebook post before you forced him to sign guilty and gave him the impression that he was signing not guilty? What is it about Billy Jack that was actually creepy, that caused you to tell the judge that he could no longer work with you? And please produce any work that you did on John's case for his divorce with Tara that would show he actually paid you money for something. If you're going to claim that $675 went towards the divorce, could you please show something? Could you please show anything that resembles work you did on the case? Now, I don't think that's too much to ask, but that's just me. I want to reiterate one final time before we move away from this podcast into the next episode that if it were not for the Facebook like button being pressed, John would have never got his first PFA violation. It wouldn't have extended the PFA out for another 3 years, and nothing that happened afterwards would have had nearly the consequences that it has currently taken on his life. He would not be in jail for 6 months. It's most likely, can't say with any sort of definitiveness, but it's most likely the case that Officer Podlisky would not have picked up the charges that Officer Curry had declined to proceed forward with if there wasn't the added benefit of the PFA violation to bolster the claim. It all comes down to the Facebook like button, and John's attorney that he paid thousands of dollars for never bothered to look and see if the evidence even existed. Shameful. This woman should be nowhere near a judge's chambers. Thanks for listening to this episode of Corrupt Clearfield. Remember, you can follow along with all of the documents I'm referencing at corruptclearfield.com. Just scroll down and click the link to the Dropbox file. All the documents are cataloged in order as they appear in each episode. You can also help to support this investigation as it continues, and also our family as we attempt to recover from the damage that has been done. You can donate either by going to corruptclearfield.com and clicking the link as you scroll down the page, or you can go directly to paypal.me/crazygaby. That's my broadcasting alias. Again, that's paypal.me/CRAZ as in zebra, Y, GAB as in Bravo, EY. Thanks for listening. Until next episode.